The rain had already started. When Daniel walked out of the courthouse, with a thin folder in his hand and the strange feeling that his life had quietly ended, without anyone really noticing. 3 years of marriage reduced to a few signatures and a polite nod from a tired judge. He stepped onto the wet pavement and watched the drops strike the concrete like tiny explosions. People passed by with umbrellas, talking on their phones, living their ordinary lives. For them it was just another Wednesday. For Daniel, it felt like the ground had disappeared beneath his feet. He had loved Laura with the kind of certainty that makes a man believe nothing can go wrong. They had met in college, married quickly, and promised each other a future that once seemed so clear. But love sometimes fades quietly. It doesn't always explode. Sometimes it just slowly stops breathing. Laura had grown distant over the last year. Late nights, quiet dinners, short answers. Then came the confession that felt like a knife slipping between ribs. "I don't feel the same anymore," she had said, avoiding his eyes. Daniel didn't shout. He didn't beg. Something inside him simply collapsed. Now it was over. He started walking down the courthouse steps when he heard soft footsteps behind him. "Daniel." He turned. It was Emma, Laura's younger sister. Emma had always been the quiet one in the family. While Laura loved attention and parties, Emma preferred books, long walks, and listening more than speaking. During family dinners, she usually sat beside Daniel, asking thoughtful questions while everyone else talked loudly around them. But today she looked different, nervous, almost pale. "Hey," Daniel said gently. "You didn't have to come." "I wanted to," she replied softly. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The rain filled the silence. Then Emma stepped closer and lowered her voice. "Daniel, can I tell you something?" "Of course." She glanced around as if making sure no one could hear them. Then she leaned closer and whispered something that made Daniel freeze. "Be my husband." Daniel stared at her, certain he had misunderstood. "What?" Emma's cheeks turned red, but she didn't look away. "I'm serious." The words hung between them like lightning in slow motion. "Emma, I just got divorced from your sister 10 minutes ago." "I know. And you're asking me to marry you?" "Yes." Daniel let out a stunned breath. "This is insane." Emma shook her head quickly. "Please listen to me first." Her voice trembled, but there was something determined behind it. "Come with me," she said. They walked to a small coffee shop across the street. Inside, the smell of roasted beans and warm bread filled the air. They sat by the window while rain streaked down the glass like tears. Daniel watched Emma carefully. "Explain," he said. Emma wrapped her hands around her coffee cup, as if gathering courage from its warmth. "My father is sick," she began quietly. Daniel's expression softened. "I didn't know." "He has heart failure," she said. "The doctors say he might not have much time." Daniel remembered Laura's father well, a strong man with a loud laugh who used to grill steaks in the backyard every summer. "What does that have to do with this?" Daniel asked gently. Emma looked down. "He always wanted to see both his daughters happily married," she whispered. "Laura's divorce broke him. He thinks everything in our family is falling apart." Daniel stayed silent. Emma took a slow breath. "I told him yesterday that I had someone in my life," she said. Daniel blinked. "You what?" "He smiled for the first time in weeks." Her voice cracked slightly. "And now he wants to meet the man." Daniel leaned back in his chair, trying to process everything. "So you came to me because I trust you," she said immediately. Her eyes finally lifted to meet his. "You're kind, honest, and you're the only person I know who wouldn't take advantage of this." Daniel rubbed his face slowly. "This would be a lie." "Yes, it's risky." "I know. And your sister." Emma looked away. "Laura lost something good when she lost you," she said quietly. "That's her story. This is mine." Daniel studied her for a long moment. Then he sighed. "How long would this arrangement last?" Emma hesitated. "Until my father feels at peace. And after that, we can walk away." The simplicity of her answer surprised him. Outside, the rain had softened into a gentle drizzle. Daniel thought about the empty apartment waiting for him, the quiet evenings, the echo of a life that no longer existed. Then he thought about Emma's father, a man who had once treated him like a son. "All right," Daniel said finally. Emma's eyes widened. "Really?" "Yes, but there are rules." "Anything. No lies between us. If this becomes uncomfortable, we stop immediately. Emma nodded quickly. And one more thing, Daniel added.
What?
Daniel smiled faintly. We tell him we're engaged, not married. Emma laughed for the first time. That day, a sound bright enough to push away the gray sky outside. Deal. A week later, they stood in a small hospital room. Emma's father lay in bed, weaker than Daniel remembered. But when he saw them holding hands, his tired face lit up like sunrise. You two? He said with disbelief. Emma squeezed Daniel's hand. Yes, Dad. The old man's eyes filled with tears. I always knew you were a good man, he told Daniel softly. Daniel felt something tighten in his chest. Weeks passed. Then months. What began as a performance slowly changed into something real. They cooked dinners together, walked through quiet parks, talked late into the night about fears, dreams, childhood memories. Emma laughed more often now. Daniel noticed the way she brushed her hair behind her ear when she was nervous, the way she hummed softly when reading. One evening, they sat on the same courthouse steps where everything had started. The sunset painted the sky in soft gold and orange. Emma looked at him thoughtfully. You know, she said, we could stop pretending now. Daniel nodded slowly. Her father had stabilized. The doctors said he might live several more years. So what happens next? She asked. Daniel looked at her for a long moment. Then he took her hand. What if, he said quietly, we stop pretending and start for real? Emma's breath caught. Are you serious? Daniel smiled. Funny thing about broken hearts, he said softly. Sometimes they lead you exactly where you were meant to be. Tears filled Emma's eyes, but this time they weren't from sadness. She leaned forward and hugged him tightly. And for the first time since the courthouse steps, Daniel realized something extraordinary. The day his marriage ended wasn't the day his life fell apart. It was the day it quietly began again.